Getting to the end of these tanks, team. It's time to paint these tanks. Now I've chosen Tank Guard from Jotun again. I used it in my freshwater tanks and they've assured me that it's actually going to be great for the blackwater as well, because it is sort of a little bit chemical resistant, just like I need a coating. I've been deliberating as to what sort of coating to use inside the tanks, on the lids, inside my blackwater and my grey water tank. So what I've ultimately decided is that you know, I'm pretty much going to flush this quite regularly anyway, but I don't want any sort of chemical attack into the gel coat. So I spent a great deal of time preparing these two tanks, sanding them inside, making sure that that gel coat's etched enough to receive a coating such as Tank Guard. So that 412 white paint that I used on the water tanks, the freshwater tanks, is also appropriate for blackwater. What I'm going to do, I basically have to paint the underside and the inside, or the underside of the lid and the inside of my tanks. What I also have to do though is I'm going to glue the lid of this down to the tank. So it'll basically be fitting and mating on this surface here and this surface here. So I have to mask this edge here. I don't want paint on this at the moment because I intend to use the Techniglue, the epoxy, the industrial adhesive that I have to glue the tank together, and then I'm going to glass over the top with vinyl ester. So I've got a lot of chemistries going on here, so I have to be careful I don't contaminate one with epoxy and then want to go back a bit later on and put polyester or vinyl ester over the top for the finished product. Ultimately, the outside of these tanks is going to be painted with flow coat, so which is actually a polyester based iso chemistry. So you've got two different chemistries. Inside is going to be epoxy. It'll be 3 coats of the Jotun Tank Guard, and on the outside will be 1 coat of flow coat, which is going to simplify matters immensely. So the important thing is that I mask wherever I'm going to be gluing. I don't want to get paint on this surface. This is going to be a glue, and then inside I'm going to basically paint it out as best I can. And then the same deal needs to happen here. Now this has been sanded and ready to glue, but I also need to mask this because I don't want the paint getting on there, because when I glue those, that is going to be cured epoxy. I don't want to then have to sand it again. There's no point when it's just going to be an adhesive all the way around your top here. So I'm basically mask this edge here. I don't have to be too neat, but I do want to stop the tank guard from getting on that edge. Okay, so the water tank lid is a very different story. It needs to be painted as well. I have to remember that I've got a composite angle attached to a bulkhead up underneath here. So to work out how that's going to fit, I need to mask this lid correctly, but I need to allow for the bulkhead that's here and the angle, because that's my gluing surface. Here, all the way along here, I'm going to be able to glue this lid right down to all these surfaces. But all the way around, I need to remember, on the outside it's just the composite angle, but on the ends, it's actually a 20mm bulkhead. So I've determined that this is the center bulkhead of the tank, and I intend to glue that down as well. It was always my intention to have it glued all the way around and along the center line of the water tanks. I've got, this will be all white Tank Guard paint, this will be all white Tank Guard paint. This area here is going to have the methacrylate or the Techniglue that I've got adhered all the way around here down to the tank lid, and then a lot of weight put on it. 2 days later, that lid is never coming out again. So I'm about to paint my blackwater tanks, and one of the freshwater tank lids and 2 of the blackwater tank lids. Important to note, whenever you're working with one chemistry, that you don't contaminate it with another one. And you'll see my area here, I've just had a big clean up and removed anything relating to polyester and vinyl ester away from here. I don't want to pick up a catalyst by mistake, pick up a brush that's been used with polyester, and you know, if you're short on tools, then you need to wash and make sure that you're sort of not contaminating one with the other. I'm meticulous about that separation of chemistries. So I've cleaned up my area here, I've got my acetone ready to go, I've got a clean container that's never had polyester in it. All these things will help ultimately in the chemical reaction that I'm aiming for with a 2-part epoxy paint. So mixing this is a 2-to-1 ratio. It's 2-to-1 by volume, not by literage. So essentially, if it's 200 grams of part A, it's going to be 50 or 100 grams of part B. It's that simple, 2-to-1. I think I'm probably better off to get the tanks done. They're going to take some time. That's going to actually take a little bit of process, because there's going to be stripe coating needing to be done on all of the corners, edges, baffles, drain holes in the baffles, and just anywhere where I think that I need to put you know, excessive amounts. And I'm going to stripe coat that, and then I'll be following it up with the roller that I used in my water tank. So yeah, it's a process. Being epoxy, it does actually state on here that it is an incredible eye irritant. So as much as you may not want to, and you may not think I need to wear a mask, I will always wear a mask when I'm applying this epoxy paint. It's just not worth it. You get a splash in the eye, all of a sudden you're blinded, and your job and your career and all your dreams are shattered. I'm just going to give them a very light wipe with acetone just to clean any surface dust off, and then I'm going to get into the epoxying. So I've just given everything a good clean with a rag which is lightly soaked in acetone, just to make sure. I know I've said don't use acetone on these substrates, but when you're mixing, going from chemistry to chemistry, it is a wise move. I can already feel that that has a slightly tacky surface on it, and what that will do is it will allow the chemical reaction to really take place in between these chemistries. And these have all been sanded and are ready to go, so they're going to look pretty flash when they're finished. So I'm working away up in my shop up there, making a surf kayak, and guess who rocks in? We've got Kevin and Kath from Washington State, who are my viewers from over there. They're here on their 30th anniversary in Sydney, eh? How good's that?
Hey.
What do you reckon, guys? What do you think?
I'm surprised. You appear to be sober.
Apparently I'm not sober very often, but he reckons I probably should be because they caught me on the worst possible day. This place is like a bomb's hit it. I mean, I came in and tore all of the modules out, and I couldn't be in more of a mess to have my visitors here from the States. But they've travelled to Australia for their anniversary. I think they picked a pretty hot week, didn't you?
Oh, yeah.
Yeah, it's been pretty good, yeah. So they've done the 3-hour drive down to Jervis Bay just to see the great scenery and just thought they'd drop in and see me. Is that true?
No, I actually came here, but there is a maritime museum.
Ah,
a Fleet Air Arm Museum.
There is, yes.
And the
Fitzroy Falls.
Fitzroy Falls.
Yeah, which is in Kangaroo Valley. Brilliant. So locally here in Jervis Bay, we have a maritime museum, which I need to do a tour one day. In fact, I intend to put some of my products up there because I'm a local boat builder and they should have some of my stuff in there too, don't you reckon?
I do reckon.
Yeah, I reckon they should have some of my stuff. They've got all the other crappy boat builders in there, they may as well have me. But it's a great little maritime museum, and about 15 minutes away we have a Fleet Air museum as well at HMAS Albatross. So we've got a lot of history down here, and that's what these guys came down to see, as well as me, so I'm pretty privileged. So what do you think of my job, eh? What do you think of my site?
I'm amazed. It looks a lot smaller when you fill it up with modules, parts.
You can't imagine how bad it looks at the moment. It is an absolute brothel in here. You guys wouldn't use that word, would you?
Oh, yes, I would.
Oh, okay, very good. I'm glad about that. It is the blood, sweat, swearing and tears of life on the mould, or life on the hulls here, guys.
Yeah. Tripped me up when you went from mold to holes. I was like, what?
I had to do it. You know why I did that is because I had people looking for cleaning products in Germany found me. He said I was looking for mold removal sprays, and I came across this idiot building a boat in Australia. So that's why I did the name change. Isn't it funny, the perception, eh? Classic. I don't know what Kat thinks. Kat just gets dragged along for the day. But this is quite a good interview. We could almost podcast this, I reckon. So anyone's welcome to come and have a look. I knew Kev was sort of around. I was sort of half anticipating running into him maybe in Sydney, but he beat me to it. He came down here, and I hope he's having a lovely holiday.
Great holiday.
And Kat's enjoying some break, but now she's stuck here on the mould with the boys.
Yes.
Superb. You should be on episode like 102 or something. Who knows? When I get there, I'm 3 months behind.
No worries.
You're going to be on YouTube. Give Kev and Kath a like and make a comment. And if you want to come and visit, talk to this guy. You'll have a chat with him on the comments section of the videos. Righto, guys, let's get on with it, eh?
All right.
Bye. See ya.
Good morning, everybody. Welcome to the 5:30 Club. On the way to unload a container of kayaks. We got in last night about 11:30, and back up again at 5 on Christmas Eve. So Merry Christmas and enjoy.
Look at the smoke, eh? Surrounded by bushfires at the moment, so it's a bit hairy, but look at this.
Right, there she is, getting that unloaded this morning. It's been fun. Where's our mate?
Boy Pat. 6 a.m. Christmas Eve. Can you believe I can land a container on Christmas Eve? It's supposed to be here in October, and I brought my beautiful boy Samo here to help me.
Santa's coming.
Yeah, Santa's coming with a truckload of kayaks out there. We've got Pat out here with his big Kenworth, and we're ready to go. Check out the bushfire smoke out here. Remember, we've got a 40-foot container of kayaks unloaded in the smoke, so it's going to be not a very nice day for us breathing today, but we've got to get it done. It's Christmas Eve and we've got to get these boats out of here. But here comes Paddy. It's been on the water for like 3 months, this. No, but it comes from Canada, so everything from Canada now, everything from British Columbia has got to be fumoed before they bring it in. So part of Janet and my business is that we import and distribute Delta kayaks from Canada. We've had a very long relationship with Canada, and in fact we spent a bit of time there over the years running kayaking trips up in northern British Columbia. Seaward Kayaks, originally on Vancouver Island, were our distribution business that we worked with, and then Delta later on. And Delta are actually a thermoformed ABS plastic kayak. If you look them up on the net, a gratuitous plug here because we're the Australian distributor, but they are absolutely fantastic kayaks, beautifully engineered. And Colin, the owner, Colin and Sandra, they are very, very good at specialising in the structure of these boats, and the designs are just fabulous. Good on you, mate. Got Zach on the job too. It's Pat, our truck driver. We've known the same driver for over 15 years. He's our regular delivery guy. And fortunately that morning we had young Zach, Ellen's boyfriend, came and gave us a hand at 6 a.m. and we got these boats away within about 2 hours. You can see us here sorting them into the different store allocations, and we are very short on space in our factory, so it's nice if they come in and go out quickly. But these boats were pre-ordered back in August, should have arrived in October, didn't arrive till almost, basically Christmas Eve. So it wasn't a good scene. I was working all day Christmas Eve to make sure we got the boats into the stores, and for the last couple of weeks we've been doing that as well. Our storage is not great in our factory because I've got so many other things going on there, but you know, we make it work and we just make it happen. So yeah, check them out. Check out Delta Kayaks. I'm their Australian distributor, and check them out in the stores. They're just a fabulous product, and we've had a great success with them over the years. And that is the last one. Well done, team. Zach and Sam. Best sons a guy could have. Thanks, boys. Mate, we are locked and loaded here. So this is us stocked. Again. How many more times I can stock this factory like this, but it is full. Well, it's not even full, is it? I've got tons of room. I could probably fit another 20-footer in here, to be honest. Boys. Well done, it is coffee time. We have unloaded. How many boats was you reckon?
46, more, 56.
56 kayaks from Delta in Canada, and they're all loaded. And that lot up there is going to Perth and Adelaide. This lot down here is JBK, my old shop, and then we've got one for Pro Kayaks, and we've got a couple for Craig up in Queensland. So yeah, lots of stock. But yeah, that's good. It's Christmas Eve. It's coffee time, boys. Coffee time it is. Let's go. Coffee time. We're going to go home to the family and get into it. Thanks, boys. Well, it has been a very busy week here in my shop. Look, I've got it all happening at the moment. I've got black water tanks. I'm sealing the insides of those. I'm actually sealing the water tank lids, starting to work out the fittings and starting to really nut out my plumbing on the Catamaran. Always been on my mind, in fact, before I started building the hull, to have a channel where I start to divulge some of the hints, tips and techniques involved in composite manufacture. And you know, the life on the hulls has shown me that it has a certain popularity. It's definitely a niche field that a lot of guys are very interested in, you know, as we deal with yacht repairs and car repairs and fiberglass repairs in general. But in the manufacture of these products, I've actually been running this composite shop for around about 15-16 years full time, in amongst the Catamaran and my tour operation, and I do a bit of wholesale importing as well to keep my business running. But this particular project, the Composite Shop, is actually up and running now, and it is up on the internet. However, you can't access it until around the 18th of February when I launch it officially. So what I'm doing is, for my patrons, or anyone that is a $5 tier patron on my Life on the Hulls account, will get access to the Composite Shop videos free of charge. You know, that is one of the benefits and the value I'm trying to give back to you guys that are patrons. And anyone else that's watching that might have an interest in fiberglassing or pre-manufacture of equipment such as this thing here, and I'm actually building this right now as we speak, and these videos are going up onto the Composite Shop site. So this particular product here is a carbon reinforced high performance surf kayak. It is actually a very detailed and very difficult thing to build, and it's built purely by hand. There's no machines making a product like this, and I'm sure you'll agree it's a pretty spiffy looking, nice looking product, to take a word from one of our other channels that we all love to watch, old Mads on Sail Life. But that product there is pretty much handmade by me. I have around 20 different models of products like this that I make here in my shop. I also do boat repairs, you know, anything that really is you know, involved in the composites field is I'll tackle, and I'll give it a crack. But why I've decided to put this channel together is for you guys, and I've got around 10 or 12,000 of you that are interested in the boat building and the Catamaran project. I'm sure you'll get some value out of it. If you zip over to my Patreon site, you can get a glimpse of what this is all about, as you'll get an extra video of this free 3 months prior to it being released to the public. You can go and subscribe to the Composite Shop, and that means in the end of February you'll start getting fed these scheduled releases, such as I've mentioned earlier. And I'm going to be going deep into vacuum infusion, deep into the technology, deep into the engineering and the explanations of the composites field, to a point that is going to get quite technical, and starting to document this stuff, because I'm getting a little bit old these days, and I want to make sure that I've imparted my knowledge onto someone else. So if you like the idea of it, jump over onto that Life on the Hulls Patreon site. There's a link up there somewhere, and have a look, and hopefully if it sparks your interest, and get all this other information free. If not, you have to wait, guys, and it could be 6 months before you see the end of that product if you don't join up. But it's still going to be there, because I appreciate anyone watching my videos, but I also appreciate that support. I know that Patreon is not a big thing for a lot of people out there, but by the same token, if someone's giving you the value, I think it's a good idea to give it back. So thanks, guys, and I'll see you next time on Life on the Hulls. Okay, everyone, you can all breathe a collective sigh of relief. I've finished painting the tanks. They're Blackwater tanks. They've had 3 coats of the tank guard, so I've got a really solid impervious barrier here. I didn't want any sewage leaking into my substrate, therefore into the outer part of the boat, and yeah, you just can't imagine how bad that could be. Basically, I've left, as you saw earlier, I've masked an area here where I've actually left it raw fiberglass. I'm going to use the Techniglue, the epoxy adhesive that I've been using for everything, which has just been incredible. And essentially by gluing that edge there that I've left raw onto the raw edge of the tank, I'm going to have a solid one-piece tank. And then what I'm going to do after 2 days, I'm going to let that cure, and then I'm going to spend a bit of time rounding off this corner and getting it absolutely spot on, and then I'll physically glass the tank lid on as well to make sure that it is actually one solid unit. And then I'll sand the whole tank back, and then I'm probably going to just flow coat it, maybe the same color as the inside of the hull, so it all looks nice and neat when I look inside my tanks. So at the end of the day, this is going to be a big win for me to get these done, because I've been working on these. I think I started these in January, and you know, in between jobs, and it's been a great filler in between the larger sections, the bulkheading and all the module fitment and everything, and finishing off the bilges. Having small jobs like this to go in between, when you don't feel like doing the big stuff, you can get on with the small stuff, so there's very little downtime. Pretty excited, about 8 months on, and I've finally joined my Blackwater tanks. Lids are on, team. Lids are glued on. So what I'm going to do now is I'm going to basically go around the outside and do some trimming. I want to be able to now glass them, and now that they're glued there, I don't need that excessive flange. I can take about 2 or 3 mils off each side and really tidy it up and get it nice, so that I can get a beautiful rolled glass edge around it. Now I may have to do that vertical side on to get the desired effect. But now that it's sealed, I can now seal it from the outside and work on the cosmetics of the outside of the tanks. Time now to seal them. I'm going to actually roll 2 layers of this lightweight roving. It's actually a surfboard cloth, and I figure that, you know, 2 layers is going to be more than enough given it's already sealed. I'm going to then glass this over the top here. Now, because I have a rolled edge over the top here, I'm going to have to use peel ply to hold this down because it's not going to settle down very readily. It's certainly going to be a bit of a challenge getting it to roll over, but you know, provided you have a lot of rounded edges and radiuses, which I've sanded this nicely, I'm going to get it a really nice rounded sort of bull nose over the top, I guess you'd call it. I should be able to then get this cloth to settle down. I'm going to have to do this side and then wait for it to go off, turn it over, do the other side, then do each end, and then I'm going to have to tidy the corners up. So I've just pulled the peel ply off this edge of glass. Have a look at that. I mean, that's absolutely perfect. It's smooth as a baby's bum. It's got a beautiful little bull nose on it. And you know, it's just neat enough. But you know, at the end of the day, it doesn't really matter because it's all going to be covered over with flow coat. But you know, that was done about 3 hours ago. The other side, I did about an hour ago. It has already kicked off. Within about half an hour, I'm going to peel that peel ply off and I'll be able to do each end here. So similarly up here, this one's now ready to pull off. Actually, the bottom one's ready to pull off, and I'll be able to pull that peel ply off and pretty much get working on the ends pretty soon. And that's the beauty of working with vinyls and polyesters, is you do get that quicker working time than you do with epoxies. There is a trade-off, obviously, with strength and obviously endurance or durability, but the reality is you can work so much faster. And look, I mean, look at the contours I'm glassing here. Pretty, you know, pretty basic curves, and you know, quick sand up there. That's ready for paint. Really love the finish. I mean, to be honest, that's brushed and it's pretty good. I mean, it's not fair, but it's certainly spot on. I've decided I'm going to do the Blackwater tanks with it. I was going to just flow coat them, but because I can use this tank guard epoxy, it's just going to seal the inside and out of the Blackwater tanks with the tank guard, and because it's an epoxy paint, just incredibly strong and incredibly good water tightness, and you know, impervious to osmosis, etc., etc. So I'm going to do the lids now, but I'm only going to go down to around about here, and I'm going to mask it off level all the way around, and then I'll decide what I'm going to do with the base of it. I am inclined to do the whole thing, but I may even just do the bottoms in flow coat, which is basically similar to what it's going to be sitting against the hull. So I'm going to mask sort of an arbitrary line around the lid here, just so I've done over the top and down to here, and then I'll be able to peel it off and give me a perfect line, and then I'll be able to come back tomorrow and do the second coat as well. So for now, just get masking. this is the first time I've fit this tank since I finished the lid quite some time ago. So I'm hoping it's going to fit. It's going to leave me with very little room here, but it should be just enough. An absolutely perfect fit, that one now. I'm pretty happy with that.